I'm Reverend Leslie Goodwin, and with Reverend Karen, we're the senior ministers here at New Vision Center. And I want to add my welcome to Reverend Karen's for everyone, whether it's your very first time here, your very first time attending online, or your millionth Sunday, or anywhere in between. We're so, so happy that you're here with us today. We feel your presence beyond all time and space. Those of you watching online, we feel your presence too. You're participating. You're part of this congregation. And how joyful that is. Really fantastic song choice on a Sunday when we're going to talk about the law. It's our final Sunday focusing in on the nature of God, the nature of this life in fine detail. And I think of the law as silly putty. Right? Silly putty. It can be stretched. It can be molded. It does not stretch itself, though. It doesn't make decisions. You never see silly putty sitting there on your table going, "Today I think I shall be a dinosaur. I shall form myself into a dinosaur." It's passive. It's receptive to what the Creator chooses to make with it. It also does not ever say, "Oh no, I do not want to be a palm tree. No matter how carefully you sculpt me, I will not be a palm tree." It accepts whatever form it's pressed into by the Creator. Now, how that affects us as human beings is that we can tell exactly what we believe by looking at our silly putty. It's like silly putty in the comic transfer. Y'all remember doing this as a kid? The silly putty cannot say, "I will not be Garfield. Garfield is not the cat I wish to be. I will be Pepe Le Pew." It just reflects back to us exactly what we put into it. It shows us, and the way it shows us is what we see out here. We tend to think that we believe the way we believe because we look at what's out there in our world, our relationships, our jobs, our money, our health, our whatever. We look at what's out there, and then we have thoughts about it. Ha, 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 ha. No, it's the other way. We have thoughts and beliefs that are then projected out there where we see evidence of it. Now, this is not new news, right? I think you would have to not live in the United States or North America to not have heard at least something about the law of attraction or the law of cause and effect or the law of Oprah Winfrey. Same. So I don't have to tell you how to do it. You focus your thoughts, you choose to clean up your thoughts and beliefs, and you put your energy into the thing you want, and you believe that it's happening, and then, ta-da, yes? And we've all done it successfully at least once, right? So we know it can be done. And we do it perfectly every time, right? No. No, we do not. Not every time. Except for you, Charlie. I mean, obviously. Most of us need the review. Not because we don't know the information, but because we must be reminded over and over and over and over. It's like weeding your garden. If you go in once and do a really good weeding and your garden looks perfect, then you're done for the rest of your life, right? If only that were so. If only that were so. Instead, it's a little bit more of a, every time you're in the backyard, you pull 3 weeds. If you do that, you're sort of on top of it all the time, and the garden looks pretty well. And then life happens, and you realize, I haven't been in that garden for a good 3-4 weeks, and you walk in, and what's happened? Craziness. Craziness. Similarly, if we're not paying attention to our thoughts and beliefs, the silly putty doesn't take a break. It's not like it only listens when we're having good, pious, healthy, self-aware thoughts. It's also picking up, oh, he always does that. And then what do I see? He does it again. We get to be right. We get to be right. So this is how the law works, just quick and dirty. Everything we see in life, we're using the law to create. The way this works is everything's created twice, just like silly putty. There's an idea, and then it comes into manifestation. We have the idea of what comic strip we want to duplicate. We press the silly putty on it, and it's duplicated. We have the idea of what we want to sculpt with our Play-Doh. I mean, I have never just been dinking with Play-Doh in my hands and like, schnauzer. I've never made an accidental schnauzer. That's a good name for a band, Accidental Schnauzer. Says the wife of the lead singer of Narcoleptic Spiders. This is why clean thoughts are so important. This is why we talk all the time about finding those hidden beliefs and rooting them up like we're weeding the garden. Because we may think, oh, I'm just not focusing on spirituality right now. Meanwhile, we're over here massively sculpting away at layoffs and election results we don't like and a nasty fight with our mom. And we think it has nothing to do with us, right? It's those people and their terrible ideas. Whew. Meanwhile, what are we putting into that law? What are we pressing into it? The law is neutral. It's like electricity. Electricity can run a toaster. Electricity can run the electric chair. It doesn't have an opinion. It will give us whatever we put into it. Whatever appliance you plug into that wall, it's going to work, right? It doesn't say, no, I think you should wear your hair straight today, Leslie. Put the curling rod down. Pull out the flattening iron. It never does that. That would be, to think that way would be like expecting us to be able to plant whatever seeds we want, and no matter what, tulips will grow. That's just not the way it works. We have to plant what we want. We have to consciously decide to plant what we want to get what we want. Otherwise, we just get whatever. And in any given moment, if we tune into our own minds, whatever might not be what we actually want to get, right? Our minds, when undisciplined, are like flipping through the channels. You ever do that? And it's like, animated dinosaur wars. Nope. People driving cross country. Maybe. Click. People screaming at each other on a news channel. Nope. Click. A soap opera or telenovela where people are crying and flinging themselves about. Nope. Oh, Antiques Roadshow. I'm a yes for that one. It's just random. And when we let our minds be random, we get this sort of crazy mishmash. One of the things that can get in our way is we think, and I hear this a lot, we hear, who am I to decide? It's God's will. Ever heard that or thought that? It's God's will. But this is what Ernest Holmes had to say about it. In his book, A New Design for Living, which is one of our recommended resource pieces for this season, he said, one of the fundamental steps we need to take in creating a new design for living is the recognition that we are dealing with a power that makes things out of itself by itself becoming the thing it makes. There is no separation between creator and creation. They are one in the same. When we think about it, is this not the way everything is created? There is no God's will outside of us. The only way the will of a divine being can be known is through its creation, which is us. We will never know God's will if we don't own our own truth. Otherwise, we're just getting channel flipping. God is not a channel flipper. Einstein said God does not play dice with the cosmos. If he lived now, I think he would say, God does not binge on Netflix. It's not just random. So how do we get out of our own way? Because it's not that we don't know. Nothing I've said so far is like, oh, I never knew that, right? How do we get out of our own way? The first thing we do that messes us up is we limit ourselves. One way we can do this is we made rules when we were 2.5 about the way life works based on who praised or criticized us when we did whatever 2.5-year-olds do. Yeah? I told this story in class the other night. It took me until I was in my mid-30s to realize I'm an introvert, because being extroverted was really rewarded in my family. Being social, being popular, being gregarious, being, dare I say, perky was very rewarded in my family, and so I developed skills. And I mean, I'm a happy person, so it wasn't that much of a stretch, but when a therapist suggested to me that I'm truly an introvert when I was in my 30s, I was like, shut up, no, I'm not. And she went through the list. Do you like to have lots of time alone? Yes. Do you feel smothered if people want too much of your attention? That can happen. Do you get depressed if you don't have enough alone creative time? Uh-oh. The check marks were starting to add up. We all do this. We all have done this. We have ways that we think the world works and rules we've set for ourselves because of it that we don't even know are there. Just give in to your sister. Nice girls get along. Boys don't cry. You work hard and then you die. Rich people steal from others. They're greedy. Yeah? I would wager to bet there's a list of them rattling off in each of your brains, and they're different because we all grew up differently. But those rules are limiting us. Because if I genuinely believe I have to be an extrovert to be loved, how am I going to sit down and write a book? That's not a very extroverted behavior. How am I going to give myself what I need as far as alone time for meditation to be what this expression of God needs most? If I genuinely believe I will only be loved fully if I am out there working the crowd. Now, nobody told me that. My mother is a lovely person. She did not say, little girl, no one will love you if you are not adorable at every moment. But we don't use the best judgment when we're 2 or 3 or 5. Now, you would think, now that we're mature grown-ups, well, you're grown-ups, you're mature grown-ups, I'm just a grown-up. You would think we would stop doing it, but we still do it. We still do it. That's what superstitions are. Bobby and I are watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the TV show, for about the 57th time through Netflix. And as we're watching it, we're finding things like there's a character named Anya. She was a vengeance demon for 1,000 years, and then she was punished by being turned human. Stay with me. So now that she's human, she falls in love with another human, and they're going to get married. And all she wants to do is go be with Xander, her groom-to-be. It's the day of the wedding. All she wants to do is go be with Xander. Everything in her being is calling her to go be with Xander. And all of her bridesmaids, all of her human American bridesmaids, are holding her back and saying, it's bad luck for the groom to see the bride before the wedding. And she's like, this is a stupid rule. This rule doesn't mean anything. And they're like, but it's really, it'll ruin, you can't. And then something bad happens that wouldn't have happened if they'd let her go be where she knew she needed to be. Instead, they held her to a superstition, which is just a grown-up version of a made-up rule that doesn't make sense. Oh, I just know this happened because I didn't say a prayer over my lunch. If I cross my legs during meditation, the energy won't work for me. The prayer won't work if I use that crystal. The prayer won't work if I do use that crystal. The prayer won't work if I have crystals. Blah! None of it. Do whatever you want. It's all just superstitions. shared by someone who found something that worked for them, and that's awesome. And it's okay to share it. But when we start making it be a rule, we're doing the same darn thing. We're getting in our own way. And then we argue for our limitations. Oh, you don't understand. I can't be healthy. My leg fell off. We can put it back on. Oh, you don't understand. My family has a history of leglessness. My grandma was legless. My grandpa didn't have any legs at all. Like, both legs were gone. And something real bad will happen if I get a leg again. You don't understand. This is the only way it can be. This is the only truth for me. You know you're doing this if you have a friend who lovingly gives you a gentle suggestion like, maybe you could put out a couple of applications and see if you get any feelers. And you immediately like, well, the reason that won't work is, if you just don't want to do it, there won't be that energy. Did you hear the tone in my voice? Oh, no. I tried that. I tried that in 1976. It didn't work. Arguing for our limitations means we are just pressing that silly putty back into the same old crap that we say we don't want. And you're welcome to do it. I'm serious. There's nothing moral about getting the life you want. God doesn't love you more if you get the life you want. You just get to have the life you want, which is usually what brings people into a room like this. The last way we get in our own way is we are waiting for something supernatural to save us, to come rescue us. Remember, going back to the quote from Ernest Holmes, there is no separation between creator and creation. They are one and the same. There's nothing out there that's supernatural, outside of nature, that's coming for us. We are not Sleeping Beauty up in a castle, passively waiting for our prince to come and rescue us from our own poor choices. No, we got to be Mulan. Mulan saved her own damn self. She took personal responsibility. She changed her behavior. She went for what she wanted. She worked on herself. She got coaching. She got help. And she became more than not only she thought she could be, but that her entire culture thought she should be. And unlike Sleeping Beauty, Mulan is actually based on a real person that really did these things. I don't know if she had an animated talking dragon. I wasn't there. I kind of hope she did. But if we're going to be a Disney princess, we can't be Cinderella. We got to be Elsa. We got to get out and have an adventure. This is not passive. Nothing out there is going to do it for us. And this is why support matters. If we could do it ourselves, we would have already done it. This is why practitioners exist. This is why practitioners spend years and years, a minimum of 4 years of their lives in spiritual training. They don't have your script in their head. They don't buy your stories. Oh, and it makes you mad sometimes, doesn't it? They do not believe your stories. They do not buy into your limitations. They are not having your crap. They're not having it. All those emotions that come up when you're like, but you don't understand. They don't have those emotions around your situation. They can see through all of that, right to the heart of who you are, because they don't have your experiences clouding the vision of the truth for you. Practitioner sessions. In case you don't know, a practitioner session is a paid-for service with one of our licensed practitioners where you share what's going on in your life and they help you find the spiritual truth that's going on. And in the end, they pray for you using affirmative prayer, spiritual mind treatment. Sometimes we see a practitioner one time for one situation because something's really up. More often, we see people form relationships with a practitioner where they see the same practitioner over and over again, maybe once a month, periodically, to work on delving deeper and deeper into the story. One I call spiritual triage, which is great. When you're falling apart, it's really nice to have somebody staple gun you back together. But if you want that garden to really be flourishing, seeing a practitioner one time is like going in and doing the really good weeding that one time. And it's excellent, and your garden looks beautiful, and that's great. But if you find that over and over again you're going into your garden and it's looking messy over and over again, maybe it's time to sit with somebody and find out why you keep planting the seeds of the plants you don't want. Maybe it's time to get some help throwing those seeds away so you don't ever accidentally plant them again. If only there was a group of people who were trained and passionate about doing that work with people. If only there was a group of like 15 of them right in this community who really loved to do that work with people and support them. I'm going to do an act of magic right now, and I'm going to summon from the depths of spirit the rising up of people who are qualified to help. Whoa! Thank you. Thank you for the service you give to our community. So whether you go see them over here in the prayer zone or on the virtual prayer zone, or go on the website and get their contact information and make appointments, for those who participate online, many of our practitioners actually see clients over Zoom technology, so you don't have to be in Phoenix to get the support of a practitioner. It's not something small. When I was very, very new coming to this center and new to Science of Mind, Dr. Michelle Medrano stood up here and she said, I don't want to hear any more about Science of Mind doesn't work. If you don't have a practitioner and you are not praying and meditating every day, I don't want to hear it from you. You're full of it. You're not working the system. What is it they say in AA? It works if you work it? Same. You got to actually do it. We are not Sleeping Beauty. We are Mulan. She did stuff. Marty's waving. Hi, sweetheart. She's a practitioner. This is how we use the law. So here's the thing. Rome wasn't built in a day. Consciousness isn't built in a day. We use our practitioners and our prayer partners to become someone who can handle whatever comes. So Tuesday morning, this past Tuesday morning, I woke up and my left side didn't work. Didn't work. I was limping. My hand wouldn't do anything. I was confused and a little groggy, and I knew that something was wrong. So I call my doctor, who has me come in and sends me straight to the emergency room because I'm clearly having a stroke. I wasn't allowed to drive myself to the emergency room because I was clearly having a stroke. Go figure. So I called my 20-year-old son, who came and got me and drove me to the emergency room, and he kept saying, "You're really calm, Mom. I think I would be freaking out if they told me I was probably having a stroke. You're really calm." Get to the emergency room, they put me inpatient. Reverend Karen comes and she says, "Did they give her drugs?" Because I was really calm. I knew I was where I needed to be. The doctors were doing what they needed to do whatever had to happen. I didn't need to worry about it. I didn't need to control them. I didn't need to control the situation. I was not in pain. I was comfortable. I was in a nice, cuddly bed. They kept bringing me warm blankets. I really like warm blankets. And a couple of days later, they come back to me and they say, "You did not have a stroke." In the intervening time, my mother and my husband and my kids kept saying, "Why don't they know anything? Why don't they know anything? Do we have the test results? Why don't they know anything? We need to know something." And I kept saying, "Give them time." It's like Schrodinger's cat, because in my world, everything is quantum physics. Schrodinger's cat is an example where there's a cat in a box, and either the cat is alive or the cat is dead. But as long as it's in the box, in quantum mechanics, the cat is both alive and dead. And it doesn't lock itself into one possibility until we look. And I, for that period of time, both had had a stroke and had not had a stroke until we opened the box, or in my case, the MRI, and looked. And I kept saying, the longer it takes, the better, because we're giving our practitioners time to press the truth of my wholeness into that law. To know my wholeness, to know that there is nothing that has happened to me that is not immediately reversible, to know that no harm has actually happened. And hot damn, if when we got those results, they didn't say, you had a migraine, a weird migraine, a nasty migraine, but a migraine that's gone and left no permanent damage. That's why we get a practitioner. 12 years ago, I would have been having a nervous breakdown in that emergency room. But 12 years of practitioners and ministers and prayer support and classes, and I can stand in the midst of what would have been a nightmare and be absolutely fine. And you can too. You can too. We started this series by saying that the famous quote from Ernest Holmes, there's a power for good in the universe greater than you are, and you can use it. I would say, if you're here because you want to live the life that you know is the truth for you, that bigger life, that more loving life, that more full life, I would say there is a power for good in the universe greater than you are, and you must use it. Are you with me? And so it is. And so I'm going to invite the practitioners and ministers in service to rise and join us as we anchor this in prayer. What a joy it is to come together and share the truth of all of life. That this one that we call the divine is active in and through and as each one of us, that is in fact the only thing that there is. That there is nothing outside of it, that there is no part of us that is outside of this divine goodness. What a blessing it is to have practitioners and ministers who are willing to be with us, sit with us, and know the truth for us until we can know it for ourselves, to guide and lead and teach and support. This is one of the ways they be God in action. The divine shows up in such beautiful ways for the highest and best of all life, for the highest and best of our lives. And so I know that right here, right where we are, each of us is profoundly blessed. That whatever cause is on our heart or mind is being met by the divine, even as I speak these words. And that all is truly well, truly, truly well, and getting better every moment. And we know this truth as we say together, and so it is.